0 to 10, every single legendary is about to be rated. And I'm sure there's going to be some on this list that you think I nailed pretty right, and some on this list you think I didn't nail. Keep in mind, I'm not the god of this game. This is just one man's opinion through his experience with his mini legendaries and his friends' experience and those around me, and I've learned from them. I also learned from you in the comments. So as you leave comments letting me know what your opinion is on these legendaries, make sure you leave the word subscribe week in your comment, and you be a subscriber. The reason why is this week is subscribe week, meaning I'm seeing how many subscribers I can get in 1 week as a challenge to myself, and I'm giving out more and more money as we gain more subs. I just gave out $100 yesterday to a random commenter on the previous raid video. Marisova won that. Congratulations. You can join the Discord if you want to see the rules and regulations and all that stuff about how the giveaway works, but it's really easy. You just be a subscriber, you leave subscribe week somewhere in your comment when you're letting me know what you think of these legendary ratings. That's it. If you win, I'll contact you. My mob will get your PayPal info. Pow, 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 you get your money, okay? Pretty much that easy. I love you guys. Thanks for watching these videos. I've been really enjoying content creation lately. I've been trying to pump out 2 to 3 videos a day. If you guys want to see more of that stuff, that's the plan here. And also, I'm working on the second channel too, so you can subscribe there. And I've been working on Exo Heroes, which is the new Gacha game that just came out literally today. So check out that video too, which I will put in the card right up. Pow, here if you want to see that. That being said, it's time to get into this. Every single legendary in the game rated 0 to 10. Let me know what you think. Here we go. Okay, first things first, it's the Banner Lord, starting with 0 to 10 is going to be Lord Chamfort. I've got my fair share of these guys. I'm going to give him a 5. I think he's mostly used just for his HP or a lead. Basic, defense down on the basic. The shield's okay. Not too impressed with him. Now, Savalia, to me, is probably an 8, just because she has removed buffs as well as removed turn meter. She's very good in Arena. Now, she also has a heal, the best heal in the game, based upon 75% max HP, which is nuts. All right, it's actually pretty good. You compare her with people like Ironclad, they do a health grenade. Now, Killian the Lucky was a fusion, and in my opinion, was one of the fusions they got right. Wasn't too hard, and he's not too good, but he's also not too garbage. I would say he's usable enough so that if you're early on in the game, you can probably build him and not completely waste resources, but he's not bookable, if that makes sense. He's in the middle, okay? So for me, he's like a 5, maybe a 6. Black Knight, I think, probably a 6 because he has team-wide defense up as well as continuous heal, 100% uptime, which is fairly rare, to be honest, in this day and age. Minanya, I think, is probably a 7.5, maybe an 8. She can hit hard. She has, continuous heal. I like the fact that if you look here on her A3, check this move out, okay? Look at this. Champions fully healed by this skill, places a shield buff on them for 2 turns equal to 25% of the champion's max HP, and it heals all allies. So basically what this does is it's kind of like a mini Valkyrie shield. I mean, Valkyrie shield's way more, but it gives you a mini shield on everybody if you fully heal them, and the heals is off of their max HP. So if someone does like an AoE or something, unless they're bringing them below half, when you bring them back up, they get a shield too. I mean, there's also the block buffs and all that stuff, for increased defense, yada, yada, yada. And then we could go into like the fact that she has one of the only flat HPs. In fact, she might have the only flat HP heal I've ever seen where it's just 10,000 flat, which is kind of interesting. Okay. Moving along, Lugan's like a subpar healer because of his basic attack. I think he's like a 5, maybe a 6. I've seen videos of people having him work and hitting hard, but I wasn't that impressed. Septimus is definitely an 8 or 9. Large scale damage, debuff extension, etc. Richthoff the Bow used to be like a 3, but now he's probably like a 5 or a 6 just because the AoE poisons are so good. You can also use him in Clan Boss. Raglan's like an 8 or 9. Every one of her moves are good, and if you pull her, you should be excited. Baron's like a 3 or 4 to me just because of missed potential. His damage is really interesting, but it's hard to get it off. When you're actually trying to kill someone and make the splash damage work, it's very difficult. Now, moving on to high elves here, Elinaro, I think, is a 7 or an 8 for me. She's one of the only poison poppers in the game, and for that reason, she's going to get high rating. Shermani, I've always lost to in Arena because of the free/heal early on. I think she's quite good. I would probably say a 7 personally. This guy, I think, is a Rodos counter because of his A2. Hits enemies 3 times, ignores shield, block damage, as well as defense, or 50% defense. That's pretty nuts. Can definitely deal with Rodos unless he's got Unkillable on. Lyssandra's probably a 10. If ever there was one, a 9 or a 10. Royal Huntsman, I haven't been too impressed with. I want to give him like a 5 or a 6. Yannicka, I want to give like a 6.5 because I think her damage is actually pretty good and she can be used. Ethos is definitely like an 8. He has insane AoE, and this move will always crit, which is one of the only characters in the game that actually have that, meaning that you can stack crit damage on him. I can get him to, you know, high into the 300% crit damage, which can be pretty nuts. Bellinaro pairs with Xavier is kind of okay. I kind of like this move here. Will heal this champion equal to any surplus damage if the target is killed. I kind of like that because it's completely useless. Actually, the one I meant to talk about is this one here. The one where it basically places everything. I don't know why the A3 is what it is. You can actually look and see how bad that is. Arbiter is a 9 probably. She's nuts. Every one of her moves are disgusting. I mean, that's why everyone uses her. Plus, she has the arena lead, revive, blah, 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 blah. You know Arbiter. Rajkard is one of the best characters in the game strictly because of this move, which is block damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, 6 turn cooldown. So when it's booked, it goes to 4, meaning he has to last 2 more turns to get it up again. So if you pair him with himself, everyone, congratulations, is immune. Same deal with like man-eaters. For that reason, he's quite good. Errol is interesting because he gets extra crit rate, but he also steals buffs. I built one of him and I used them in arena to some effect. This move here can actually hit pretty hard. What's interesting is if you build him with just pure attack and then with no crit, okay, high crit damage and pure attack, then he's kind of like a RNG cannon of is he going to hit insane or not? Because what happens is it's a gamble of is he going to crit, because you don't even use normal crit, you just do crit damage, and then you use the ignore defense gear and as high attack as you can get him, and it's just is he going to ignore all defense and one-shot the person or not, which can be kind of hilarious. I found that build with him to be funny. He's probably like a 6, maybe a 7. Rajkard's like an 8 or a 9. This character I think is a 5 or a 6 just because she has AoE defense down. One of the only characters early on, if you pull her, that will have that. She's like a war maiden. Yikes. Martyr, yeah, 9 or 10. I mean, she's got everything in the kit. Defense down, attack down, counter, defense up. I mean, even provoke. She's got it all. Cupidus is, I want to say like a 7, maybe a 7.5. Santa Claus, 8.5, maybe a 9. Venus is a 10 for sure. She's got everything in her kit. Both these characters are completely disgusting. I mean, Santa Claus will keep you alive, just like Rajkard, but more so Venus is. I mean, Venus is Venus. You can't really beat Venus. She has everything in her kit. Alton is probably the best attack down in the game. Sow of Drake, I'm not really sure. I haven't really even looked into her enough, so I'm just going to say to be determined. Alton's probably going to get an 8.5 or a 9 just because he's the best attack down game. Elder Skrarg, I'm currently building. I think in arena, he can be a Rodos counter. I'm going to say a 5.5. He'd probably be a 7.5 if this passive was for everyone on his team. Let's go to Valkyrie. She's a 10 just because she's, I think, the best counterattack. Her shield is disgusting. Turvold, you know, I'm not 100% on him, to be honest. I've seen people do insane damage, but I've also seen him be useless. I'm going to say a 6.5, maybe a 7. I'm probably wrong on that one, though. So moving on here, the Ogre Tribes. Big on for me is probably a 6.5 or 7. He's got a lot of use everywhere. War Mother is maybe a 5 or a 4. She can pop bombs, which is kind of cool. Ignatius, I like the unresistible HP burn, especially pairs well with Torment. That's an 8 for me. This guy's like a 3 or 4. I'm not that big of a fan. Shamrock, I think could still be better because the revive on death just really isn't useful, to be honest. I mean, trying to predict when people are going to die on your team to make fast dungeon clears doesn't really happen, and trying to make it where it works good in clan boss in this day and age doesn't really happen as much anymore. Gurgo, so he's probably like a 6 to me, but he has an okay kit. Gurgo, I think, is like an 8. I really think he's good in arena for dispelling buffs and for freezing people. Lizardman, here we go. Dracomorph, the one everyone knows that I cry over all the time. I can't get him. He's worth $16,000, so he's 16,000 out of 10. Fushan here, probably like a 6 actually. His lead's pretty good, maybe a 7 because he's pretty good also in what's it called, Fire Knight. Now, Rosin I think is like a 7, maybe an 8, very good all the way around. Defense down, weaken, AoE defense down. This guy's disappointing, maybe a 5. And then Krisk, I think, is probably an 8.5. I mean, he makes you so tanky you can clear like almost every bit of content, okay? Moving on here to Skinwalkers. Norog I thought would have been like a 4, but I'm actually liking him a lot. I think he's a 6.5. This guy, I put him straight up into my arena team when they have Hegemon just to receive less damage from the opening volley. A Longbeard, I think, is like a 9.5 or a 10. Maybe he's a 9, makes Lankiss a 10. The charge move is amazing. You guys see me rant about him all the time. I think Longbeard's one of the best in the game. Smash Lord's probably like a 7. Can be very good in arena, but that's about it. Maybe a 6.5. War Chief's probably like a 2. complete asshole. Brackus the Shifter is probably like a 7.5, really good in Arena, great against Rothos. Coronavirus here, I think he's like a 9 or a 9.5. I think he's quite good, actually. I wanted to pull him. I tried pretty hard. Didn't get him, though, of course. So moving on here to the Orcs. Gorak the Bloodied. They called him the Bloody because he got murdered when he was designed. This character is like a 3. Keela the Gormain is same deal. She's like a 3. Pure garbage. Robar, I think Robar got destroyed with the Relentless change. He was a meme who just win a million turns in a row with Relentless plus his basic attack, which gives him extra turn. Now he's not as much of a meme, which is kind of a bummer because I think the meme is what made him, I would say, good as he could carry and he wasn't really quick. I still think he's decent. He's like a Zargala. 7. Warlord's probably a 9. I mean, he's disgusting. 8.5 or a 9. I'm very loose on these 8 to 10s, I know, but like 8.5 comes to mind instantly. This guy's getting a shout out. Thanks for the follow. By the way, that reminds me, you guys can catch me at twitch.tv/Darth Microtransaction live at Reset for Raid Shadow Legends every single day. Now here we have Angar. Kyra Mobile's been using this in Platinum Arena and doing fairly well with them. I have seen people use them in Platinum Arena because of the provokes and the reflect damage can be quite good. So he's probably actually a 6.5 in this day and age. So that leaves us over the Demon Spawn. We're chewing through these here, the good pace. So here we have Prince Kymar. I think Prince Kymar is a 9, maybe a 10, just because he has this move, which resets the cooldown of all ally skills, fills the turn meter of them as well. That's disgusting, okay? One of the best moves in the game. Tyrant is probably a 7.5 or an 8, just overall good kid. I think Drexar's like a 7, used to be better before there was better HP HP burn options. Candifron, I think is a 6. He has good damage sometimes, but the sometimes is the problem. The Macab, I think, is a 6.5. I like the lead, and the Paro's quite good, and he has good HP-based stats. Shazar is probably a 9, and maybe a 9.5. He has the best speed lead in the game when it comes to Arena, and for that reason alone, he gets a bunch of extra points. Duchess is probably a 9.5 or a 10. Every bit of her kit is disgusting. If you want to know why, just go read her kit. You'll see it. She's got everything you want in a support character. Crutrax is probably like a 6.5 or a 7. She's really good for nuking people in Arena and Fire Knight from what I've seen. Maybe a 7.5 or an 8. I don't have enough experience where there to be sure. I think this guy's a solid 7. He's pretty good, mostly in Arena, sometimes Ice Golem, but kind of squishy. Moving on here. We are into the Undead. Now, Crypt King needs a buff. He's probably a 5. Rothos is definitely a 10. We all know that. Scartorsus, I think, is a 7.5 to an 8. This move's really good. Removes all debuffs and then, like, fills their turn meter. Plus, this one gives them attack up, crit up. Really good in dungeons. High speed aura in the dungeon. Also, high speed aura in the game. Bad Oak Azar, 10 out of 10 if there ever was one, too. Blood Gorge, I think, is probably a 7 in Arena. Everywhere else, not so great. Mashal is recently buffed up to an 8, maybe an 8.5, I think, especially in PvE. Did worse in PvP than we thought, but he's definitely better in PvE than we thought. Nethro here, I don't even want to talk about Nethro because I have 6 of them, so he's going to get a 6 out of 10. Let's see, Suzerain Catan, I think gets slept on a little bit, but the damage ratio is not quite good, even though the base attack is all right. For that reason, I think Catan's maybe a 7 because of the utility. Harvest Jack's probably 7.5, and Sifi's going to be a 10, obviously. Let's move on to Dark Elves here. I think Ray is quite good, but she's better the earlier on you pull her. I think she's probably a 9. Lanicus, I think, is a 10. I mean, personally, I think Lanicus is disgusting. Foley's a solid 7 for me. Zavia would be a 9.5 or a 10 because she's potentially one of the best, if not like the best character used for speed farming dungeons. Vizier is like a 9 because he's the best extender in the game, although I have issues with them that I don't really want to get into because it's long. I'll talk about them later. Astrelith, her basic attack, I think, is highly underrated. I think she has one of the best basic attacks in the game, just flat out honestly. That being said, and if you look at the basic attack, it fills the turn meter of a random ally by 15%, but fills the turn meter of all allies by a further 15% if this attack's critical. So basically, everyone on the team gets 15%, one random person gets 30%, just not basic. Pair that with charges, you can see very quickly why she could be good. That being said, she's probably a 4. Everything else sucks. Queen Eva is a great farmer, 8.5. Ghostborn, I think, is a 10 just because of this move here. No, not that one. This one, which is an irresistible defense down. I think anything that's irresistible is really, really, really good. So it's one of the only ways you can get 100% runs in dungeons as everything has a base resist chance unless it's irresistible. Blind Seer is really good. I think it's probably 8.5 out of 9. well, maybe 7.5 to 8. Maybe I'm overrating her slightly, but she has the highest base speed in the game, if you didn't know. Night Revenant, Mr. Meesinks is a 10 just because he looks like Mr. Meesinks, but in reality, he's like a 4. Tomb Lord is an 8. He's highly underrated. He has AoE defense down that also does attack down at the same time. Doesn't even have to hit somebody to happen because it's a cast, not a hit. The basic attack does poisons on everybody. This guy is actually just good. He has a triple hit on basic, and people underrate him. I think he's an 8, solid 8. Solus, I think, is the same way. I think Solus actually has a description that's wrong. I have a video that's talking about how Solus is actually a really good legendary. You can look that up if you want. Hegemon's a 10 because he's the only character in the game that Han shoots first. And then Wurlum, I think, is a solid 7 just because he has one of the only strengthened, or the only AoE strengthened in the game. Other than that, he's kind of like just okay. I think he gets backpacked by that. Now, moving on to the last and not least is Dwarfs. Trunda for me is a 9, maybe a 9.5 because she has an insane A3, which when you don't actually land the stuns or the HP burn, it does like double damage basically, which is disgusting. Mountain King, I pulled my second one up. I've had 3 and I've pulled 2, and he's a 7. He's good in arena, nowhere else. Amazing in arena though. Molly's probably 7.5 just because she's, good, not great, but usable pretty much everywhere. And then Tormund's probably 8.5 just because of how strong he was. Maybe a 9 just because of how strong he was on release. That being said, that is my full list. You are more than welcome to disagree with any or all of the characters on this list and leave a comment telling me which one. But if you do leave a comment telling me what one you would change, make sure to put subscribe week in that comment and be a subscriber so you have a chance at winning these $100 giveaways. Otherwise, you're not going to have a chance. I appreciate it very much for watching this video. Let me know if it was helpful at all to you, or just say hi because I love to see highs in the comments. Love you all, and see you on the next video.